Hello, everyone, and welcome to RHAP's coverage of Australian Survivor Brains V Brawn II for episode 11. I'm your host, Shannon Guss, here to talk about episode 11. That's right, I'm doing this intro right. We had a non-elim, but there was a lot going on. The Brawns cracked. Who knew that this monolith of Brawn had moves up their sleeve, challenges thrown, alliances broken for seemingly, little reason, but we'll talk about it. And to talk about it on a Monday night, like I always get to every week, what a joy. It's a great Pooya. Pooya, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. They call me King of the Non-Limbs. Once again, here with a not.
Yeah.
This is the double-edged sword of being the middle child
Yes.
of the coverage here, but it's still fun to talk about, and I'm excited to be here. So I'm
There was
happy either way.
still a lot going on. Like the way that they chose to do the non-elim, the way Laura chose to handle the non-elim, the fact that the Brawns were going to flip on each other. Like, it is true. I did say last night, it'll probably be tomorrow night. I know that they don't want to lead with a non-elim on a Sunday, and they never will. Very, very rare that they'll do it on a Tuesday night as well to finish the week. But yeah, it's going to... And that's why I think that if the players had even a shred of knowledge, they would have expected it tonight. But I feel like maybe that's expecting too much of the fandom. But yeah, they were probably going in voting out Jesse to the other tribe. So you can probably expect it on the second and fourth Monday night episode. You should try to game that's probably an on-a-limb, because I know that's what I was doing.
Well, certainly the immunity challenge felt like a non-elim leg because of how quickly it did not matter, and how quickly it finished. So there we go. And like we never got a resolve on that, Shannon. Did they
What did
just
you think?
biff it? Did they just mess it up?
I
Because
thought so.
how I just assumed somebody like kind of soft stopped holding it up, but then would admit later, but then that never came to be.
Yeah, the fact that no one confirmed it made me think that they didn't throw the challenge. And also, I didn't understand as much the mechanisms of the challenge for why that would happen organically, but clearly it could, and I think it did. I don't think I mean, this was, like I said last night, this is roughly around the time to throw where they've had less time, more time than last night, but like less time to find idols, and you can try as the Brawn to like get through, and ironically they would have been turned on, but get through and get to like a splittable space with the brains. This was probably the time to throw, but I don't think they were.
Right. I feel like there's like what, 5 people holding it up, 6 people holding it up. So if the middle person was to like bow out, that's the best case scenario because the sides would be like able to distribute that weight evenly. But if someone on the sides just kind of stops, it's going to be a lot harder because now the one person next to the person who's dropped it is going to have to put way more power into it. So it just felt like out of nowhere, it got heavy and everyone just kind of got done. Maybe the sabotage was their own bodies. Maybe it was just fatigue kicked in for them. I don't know.
I think so, because it didn't even seem like we saw one person who screwed it up. Like, we surely would have got some confirmation about the one person who's like, yeah, I wasn't really holding it. You know, like the person, I think this was in Friends as well, where like Rachel's not really helping to carry the couch, not even in the pivot scene, but yeah, like the one person, and I'm always that person. I'm never holding up my weight because I'm not strong, but I'm like the one person who's just not really holding it. But we never got the confirmation of who that was, so it probably was no one. But yeah, I am that person.
Seemingly did not matter, especially, coming off another episode where actively people were trying to throw it. I thought this was going to be a more bigger storyline, but it ended up not mattering because there was other storylines going on, Shannon. So at least we had that to fall back on. Because if we didn't, the murder mystery, I just came off the traitors. Like, who's the traitor among us? Please and thank you. Tell me.
100%. Well, yeah, I think the lack of confirmation probably says they didn't, but I guess we don't know. That would have to, maybe be for an exit. But there was no exit in this episode. But what I thought was so interesting was Laura. What a Laura episode. Derogatory. No, the fact that I hated. I'm trying every episode. As you know, Pooya, I come in and I'm like, what? The way Laura played this, I didn't understand it. I felt like she finds this, what she calls an advantage. It's really just information that no one ever needs to know. Like, they could find it out after the vote. She says she's going to use it. Like, there's nothing to use. It's just information. And the second you've passed on that information, everyone has the same quote unquote advantage of knowing.
You're just giving them the power to decide where to go.
Exactly. The knowledge is power, but not the knowledge is power, but the power of the knowledge. What the worst thing that could have ever happened to Laura was finding this clue or this information. And the second worst thing was telling anyone. What she should have done was taken literally a page out of Verna from Survivor South Africa's book and softened it in the well.
Eat
And then
the
she should have eaten the
clue.
clue. Yeah. So that no one could ever
Yes.
know, and that no one would ever know that she knew. Because I didn't understand. So the plan is that the girls are flipping to Jesse. Now they've given Laura, as we know, verifiable and true information. It really seemed like they were flipping. But she can't know that. But the fear is if they're wrong, she's going to get voted out. But now she's found out that if she gets voted out, it will be to the other tribe, which is what she even wants. So best case scenario, the vote happens, they do flip, that fractures the brawns for the merge. I mean, long term, that's a wonderful result. You are now at the top of even this short-term tribe, where probably the other side are going to throw to get rid of Jesse anyway. But even if they don't, now you have the numbers, which is great. And if it doesn't go through, you know you're being sent to the other tribe, which is what you wanted anyway. It should have just been like, that's lucky, and then she should have eaten the clue, and that's how I feel about it.
Well, not for nothing. Doesn't JLP typically reveal that it's going to be a vote to the other tribe right before the votes anyway?
Well, often that has been the case. I hate when they don't tell them that. This was interesting because I think that he wasn't going to do it because they gave this information to someone, which I actually don't hate as much as that's teetering on the edge of, but then you're not telling them what they're doing. The two reasons I don't hate it is that it played out in a really interesting way where if someone's going to get the information in this really obvious clue that's just like sitting by the tree, then the information can be wielded in some way. It is like that information advantage. And the second thing is you should expect a really predictable non-elim at the spot. And if you don't, honestly, that's on you. So I think it's predictable enough anyway. And the fact that someone will wield the information makes it kosher enough for me. But I don't think JLP was going to reveal it because I feel like this was the reveal. Like it's something different that they've tried. And I think it worked perfectly fine. I mean, it was interesting.
Here's why I would advocate for the JLP disclosure clause. Always have JLP disclose it because I feel like in the future meta of the game, in the years to come, in the event that you are not telling them that it could be an on a limb, you're never going to get a Girls Gone Wild. You're never going to get people planning things like this because then they're like, if it goes sideways and it's an on a limb, then we're screwed. I don't want to risk it. I'm just going to stick with the people I know, stick with the numbers I know, not do anything shifty. And I am 100% team shifty.
I get it. Firstly, you can be shifty on a Sunday and a Tuesday every week. That you know. Mondays, you should be careful. That is true. Mondays, you should be careful. But like to be fair, I get that, and I completely agree that in a game design, it's all about what incentivizes people in the future. And from a fairness point of view, they should know. And from being incentivized to play hard, they should know. I totally agree with that. I think that this was interesting because it added an extra layer that was like the most talkable point of the episode, I felt, in the way that Laura played it. And I also think we have to think about Australian Survivor. To be fair, to be incentivized, you have to have seen the show even once. And that might be the stopping point of how it affects Australian Survivor. Because again, Girls Gone Wild was about to flip on the Monday night of the fourth week, which is a very dangerous game. But you think they were like, well, it's usually a non-elim. No. So they don't know. So you can't incentivize most Australian Survivor players because they've never seen the show ever before. So that's the one thing that changes it a little bit for Australian Survivor.
We were robbed, Shannon. We were robbed of what could have been a very fun tribal and vote out. I feel like we ended up getting a juicy tribal, but for a whole different reason.
Yeah.
Okay, where do you want to go from here? Because
yeah, we can talk. The thing is, I don't feel robbed because it's like they were going to flip, so we can still analyze those intentions. But then also what happened between Laura and Zara is so interesting. So I guess let's kind of start at the end there with Laura and Zara. Their relationship to me is so interesting because right before the swap, Laura actively targeted Zara, gets sent back to camp from tribal council, and the alley vote happens instead. But Laura's actively targeting Zara specifically. Now they've like bonded over their terrible position and like how much they've been like kind of coming at Miles and how much they're like treated like vermin by the Brawn, and it's kind of reunited them. But we see how tenuous that was. Laura is very upset that Zara has like snubbed her here to go to the other tribe. I thought that was so funny when like Laura's so angry and Zara's like, my new buff. It was really funny to me. Where do you stand on what Laura did and how she sees what Zara did and in this kind of like new feud between them?
I feel like Laura's the ultimate wild card as an ally, unless your name is Logan. Laura is seemingly, there's nothing you can say can be put weight behind it. Exactly. Because here's the thing. I feel like The minute Laura was told, so the boys are looking at your name, there was such a clear uncertainty around Laura and where she's going. And all I could think was, I understand the notion that you don't want to be the other name put out there. Of course, I get that. But when you're in the bottom three and you have a lifeline presented to you, your day is coming up sooner rather than later. So why not just go ahead with the plan and play it on? I think the other thing that I didn't love with Laura was I wanted to share with Zara that I got this advantage because I want to do the right thing. But then you're also like, yeah, Saz, sorry, Zara. I'm just gonna go ahead and do this and go home to the other tribe. Sorry, you're on your own. Of course, Zara's gonna feel like, absolutely not. You're not gonna leave me tanked here alone. I'm gonna shackle myself to your ankles to make sure you don't get to go. And it was so funny to watch Zara friend jump Laura into this advantage. And also for Laura to see it as that, because ultimately, the minute you vocalize this, because you could tell Laura's gambit at the tribal was, I'm going to bring this up. I'm going to be very upfront, very vocal. And then I'm going to volunteer to go because I'm going to make the connections. It's before the merge, like make sure we get what we need to get. This is my way to prove it to you. But also, it doesn't help your cause for you to be so keen to leave when you were so clearly the name on the chopping block. So, of course, the boys are going to be like, no, let's go Zara here. Let's not have Laura leave, because they were about to vote you out. So they're not going to vote. They're not going to vote to get rid of you to the other tribe. So you're safe with your, best mate. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, there's so many things here. I mean, she says, I would never have done this to you to Zara, but she was about to abandon Zara for the other tribe. So she was about to do it. And I just, there was a lot of the way that she felt like I think she was entitled to it above Zara. And I don't really get why. But the reason that she needs to tell Zara is because she's going to need to tell people to get votes on her. Because at that point, she's probably not going home, which is great. The Brawn are about to fracture. Even if it's a non-elim, that will make the merge for the Brains, who are so fractured in and of themselves. Like, I'll talk about it for Morgan and Kate, but I hated this move for Morgan and Kate because you were like giving an actual chance to these chaotic Brains, because now the Brawn are going to come in as a monolith, if not an outright majority, which maybe they would be, depending on how the numbers go. Then like the biggest possible strong plurality with these really chaotic Brains. And you, like, as Laura had made that happen, like they seem to really want Laura's power and influence going into the merge, even though I feel like Zara is as well, or maybe even better connected. They were like, we really need Laura's power, and she made that happen. And then she abandons that to go to the other tribe, when again, if the plan doesn't work, she will get to go to the other tribe. Zara doesn't even have that. If the plan doesn't work, Zara is left here to die on this tribe and clawing her way to the merge. So the reason that she has to be upfront with Zara is to try and get her vote in a plan where she's going to try and get people's votes, which they're never, as you said, they're never going to do. It was a terrible plan anyway. The actual plan should have been, no one can ever know about this. Or I'll tell Zara, like, hey, this is good because this means we can try flip them. And then Jesse, like, they'll probably throw to get out Jesse next time. And if it doesn't work, I guess I'll just go there. So there's literally no way for me to lose. You could kind of lose because you could be here on the bottom if it doesn't work out. But I'm going to be fine. And Zara would be like, great, I'm so happy for you. Like, you were kind of at risk and now you're not. And then they'd hug. And then they do the vote. And then Jesse probably goes to the other side. And it's a wonderful day, Laura. What happened?
And I think that obviously that's a good plan to gain the numbers on the beach you are on, and foster that relationship and tighten it by voting together. The issue there is I have a feeling Morgan and Kate would not have wanted to be on board with that plan, because that would have required them to show their cards and still have the monolith of
Kate.
Because then but then when the numbers wouldn't match, right? Because then
I mean, never tell Morgan and Kate that it's a non-elim. Just do the vote.
Oh, you're right. If they didn't say anything, they would have gone through with the plan anyway. Eat the clue.
Exactly.
Eat the clue. Yes.
Eat the clue. Yes.
Yes.
Like, you could burn the clue. You could eat the clue. And the thing is, Morgan and Kate would never think you knew that this was a non-elim. Like, there's so much plausible deniability. It would never come back on you. It's the perfect plan. The worst thing that ever happened to Laura was that she found this advantage. Otherwise, this was going to go incredibly well. Now she's at the bottom with Brawns that have to kind of stay together. Because now, we'll talk about it with the Brawns, but like they couldn't send one of themselves to the wolves' den, as they were saying. So now they're probably not going to trust Miles as a swing vote. So it kind of has to be like, let's just pretend that never happened. And because it didn't happen, you kind of can. Like, Zara can maybe say, or not Zara, it's Laura on that tribe. Laura can maybe say, hey, I knew it was me. I have this verifiable information. That's it. Otherwise, they were going to fully crack. You prevented them from cracking, which was so great for you. And again, even if they didn't crack, it just meant that you were going to get what you wanted anyway to go to the other side. I can't understand it. I can't understand it, Pooya.
I think it's just
so bad.
It's she went full self-preservation mode right on the brink of having a brand new alliance come to light, you know? Like,
yeah,
I feel like
the brawn.
Especially with the merge being what it is, especially with seeing the writing on the wall, how chaotic AJ's been on that side. You're just hoping Logan survives on that side. That's what you're trying to salvage from that side. Having a group here ready to bring Logan into is, I think, the better call than going over to Logan yourself, relinquishing any opportunities you had on this beach, and then just hoping that somehow in the next tribal, if you go, you and Logan are safe. If they go, all the girls are safe. Like, it's a very tall task when the alternative was just sit, like, wait this out with this group. And I don't know. I feel like there was a lot of catering done to Laura here, which if I was in her shoes, I'd like to think that I would believe what they're saying. And like, I don't know. I feel like I think you're nailing it in that I think bringing up what this is put power in Zara's hands. And then the way she did it, the way she talked to Zara was very much like, well, sorry, you're on your own, but I appreciate you enough to tell you. So that's pretty cool. And like, of course, Zara's not going to be okay with that because you're telling Zara, listen, I'm going to go there. You better win immunity next time because you're probably gone anyway. Bye. That's never going to work. Like, that's just not good. And like, now that bridge is burned. Although debatable on who it's more burned for, because now she has time to spin it with the rest of her group here, that Zara, I would have never done this. Zara and AJ are close. Like, we saw Morgan and Kate talk about it. Like, we saw AJ and Zara Matt chatting a little bit. That's a little suspect. So this is done. This was, RIP Girls Gone Wild, episode 11 to episode 11. This is done, though.
100%. I mean, it is debatable. I mean, for me, I thought you were saying, like, it's debatable whose fault it was. For me, there's no question. I feel like if I was Zara, I would say, I'm upset about this because you're screwing me over, and you're also screwing you over. It's so mutually beneficial for us to try and get this alliance through, because if Brawn split up, it just gives us so many more options. Like, if Brawn are coming in as this monolith of at least 5, if not also Paulie and Kristen, that's going to be very, very hard to surmount. Like, that is a big block where we can't get shit together on the brain to try and tackle that. And that was going to be...
we are severed as
exactly.
Yeah.
And that was going to be... they are severed brains. That's exactly what they've been this whole time. Tie into the other show I'm watching, Severance. Love that. But that's why it was just like such a great plan for them to try to get this to happen. And the get out of jail free card that she'd be okay regardless. If I was Zara, I'd be like, why are you trying to... I'm sure she did. Why are you trying to mess us up? Like, we'll just go for that vote. And there's no loss here for you. And I think that it's that same kind of conservatism that we see from her when she's like, I don't want to see my name out of the urn at all, where you're completely right, but you're on the bottom. Okay, it's the best case scenario. Okay, you're being targeted, but you're coming over the top with this verifiable information of this group. And if I was Zara, I think I would just be like, let's go for that. And now you also can't lose. So for me, it's very much on Laura. If I was the girls, I'd be like, look how much Laura, at least, I mean, also Zara at the end, but like at the point, Zara's responding to Laura. Like, look how much Laura wanted to jump ship from Girls Gone Wild immediately, even though we were offering her this olive branch. And they're like, we're really going to trust that you're going to come through for us. And she immediately goes back to her real allies. So that kind of feels done. And to me, Zara is just responding to what Laura is doing. But like, do you put any of this on Zara?
I think I can, like, obviously Laura is an individual who now feels done dirty by her ally because Zara, again, pushes her back and grabs her reward, is the way she sees it, right? This was her ticket out. Well, Zara jumped and grabbed the ticket. Do I put any blame on Zara? No, because I feel like Zara's like, what are you doing? We were on the outs. We just found an opening. We could ride this out, and you are actively trying to leave me. And I'm telling you, Shannon, maybe I might have to go back and rewatch, but the way Laura delivered this message to Zara was so unapologetic that it felt like, oh, none of this mattered to you. Nothing we built here mattered. You, the first chance you got, you want to leave me and go. How do I feel like that's any good for me? Because I do agree with you. I think had nothing been disclosed, had you just silently let, especially if JLP's not going to disclose, if you had just silently let Morgan and Kate vote out Jesse is not eliminated, gone to the Brawn, do you think Petey's going to be cool with that? You think Ben's going to be cool with that? No, they are done. And now Morgan and Kate are in the middle. They could try to be like, no, let me prove my loyalty to you by then turning on you again. That's possible. But I think the reality is now they have a crack in that alliance. Even if they choose to stick together, if y'all win that next immunity, you're fine. Merge happens. Anything can happen. I think keeping the fact that they've not betrayed, what does that leave Morgan and Kate with? Opportunity to now go back on what the deal they did. You call them out. They're like, nope, you're full of it. You're saying whatever you can to scrape off the bottom. We were never going to be with you. We're never going to vote with you. And I think the other thing for me, Shannon, is that you watched what they did to Max. They said, Max is with us. Max said, I am with them. They said, Max, see ya. They are not going to work with you. They are, those boys, those men, they ain't messing with you. Morgan and Kate clearly are frustrated with them. You should have used that opportunity. Now, is the opportunity done? Maybe, but I don't think it's over. I think there's still some chances left. I think that we could blame Zara depending on what the outcome is over on Brain Tribe.
What in that now Brawn? Because the thing is, Zara's only responding to what Laura's doing, and Brawn are never going to send one of themselves. So at the point where Laura has put her hand up that this is happening, and it's going to be one of Laura and Zara, like, it best be Zara if I'm Zara. So at that point, she has no choice. I think she even says, I wish it could be neither of us, and it was going to be neither of them. It was going to be Jesse. So if you're Laura, again, the odds that they throw to take out Jesse and buy you a round of safety before a probable merge on Sunday night anyway, you got to think about the scheduling. It's very, very high. If you go back to Tribal Council, the odds of Kate and Morgan turning on you when they've done this for the long-term merge bonds are so, so low. Like, okay, maybe they try and like cozy up to Petey and Ben by taking out a Miles, but it's not going to be you. You'd be in a great spot or you're on the other side. I think it's been talked about to death, but you know what they say about women's alliances, right? If it's discussed in the first act, it's going to be exploded by the third act. And I don't see how the girls now can go with this. They've been abandoned by Laura. Like maybe there's some... well, by Laura and then Zara, but in response. But maybe there's some connection for later down the track. But even if they were to lose next time in the short term, they're not going to rely on Miles as a swing. And I think that the only thing that can get them is if Laura goes to the guys and is like, I verifiably knew I was the target. They were flipping and it looked really obvious to the guys anyway, which was not good. That's the only thing that she can maybe use to crack it. But it's a terrible situation. And now the other side are definitely not looking to throw. And you're really going to have to fight for that immunity. And if you lose it, Laura's a probable target where she was either way, whichever way this vote was going to go, was going to be in a great, great spot and is now, unfortunately, not.
Well, we have seen the boys kind of catch on to something going on the beach with the girls. And so, I mean, Laura does have...
Laura and Miles.
Laura could just spill all the beans and be like, listen, so... I was under the belief that I was safe that night because So there's still drama to be had. I just feel like in the moment, Laura's relief and treating this like an advantage, which by the way, the editors nailed this because they didn't just tell us what it was exactly. But when you see Zara be like, oh,
it was really obvious.
Can we swear on here? Is this allowed? What do you feel?
I don't know. We're the same in RHAP. What do you think it is? Ruffle that one time.
Oh fuck is what she said that they censored. I don't know. We'll find out if I'm allowed to do that. But when she reacted that way, I was like, this is so weird because Laura sees this as an advantage. Zara's like, this is going to screw us. Only to find out what it was. And I was like, Laura, this is not an advantage. This is a ticket out of here, maybe. Yeah.
Well, the way she was talking about it, I thought maybe it was like an advantage to actively send herself to the other tribe. I knew she was jumping ship. But I didn't realize it was just information to try and get to the other side with no advantage. I thought maybe it would actually be a ticket over there.
For a second, I thought it was I'm just going to leave tribal council, right? And whether it's like I leave and go to the other tribe or I leave and go back to camp, it could be either or. And I was like, Laura would do that because Laura so clearly didn't like her name being out there. But Zara's right to react that way. Only to then find out it isn't even an advantage, Shannon. All it is, hey, here's the clue. Tonight, none of you are going home. That's all it was. And I just didn't understand. I didn't see it as an advantage. I think that the more and more we speak on it, the more and more Laura's a big question mark for me, but she's also like one of the key characters of the season. So I don't see her story cutting short right before the merge.
No, I agree. I agree. But then I thought that Noonan had the plot armor too, but I don't think that Laura's in a good spot. Yeah.
So I typically, when I watch Australian Survivor, I don't look at confessional counts. I don't look at any of that. And this is the first season that I've been dipping my toes in there. And first of all, you have no idea how much shock to the system it is to actively see every person has had 1 or 2 0-vote confessional episodes. But then 2, Noonan was like one of the only ones that consistently was getting 1 or 2. And I was like, that's usually a good sign, right? And then bye-bye Noonan, she gone. So
Exactly. So it's hard to know. I mean, if you can credit Laura, it's the fact that the girls flipped to Laura. Like you have to credit Laura and then probably to a smaller extent Zara in that because they were really trying to attach to Laura's power. And I thought this was really bad for Morgan and Kate as explained. What did you think about Morgan and Kate blowing up their Braun's little cozy Braun home for a girl alliance that will, it exists for the next 20 minutes and that's it?
I think for Morgan and Kate, I can't fault them for wanting to try and do a power shift right before the merge because if they follow through with this plan Jesse had, it was Jesse, right? Who was like, let's just make this big ass super alliance here.
The mega alliance.
Ride this out. Yeah, we go through the entirety of the merge. We're the Jury Villa folks now. We're hanging out. And I was like, yeah, this plan is perfect for Jesse because you whittle it down to your beloved Braun and then the men vote out the women and then the men are on top. Like, I think Morgan and Kate recognizing that, yeah, amongst the monolith of bronze, there's also a monolith of men, and we are not there in that Venn diagram. So we are the ones on the bottom. Like short term, no, absolutely not. Long term, yes. And trying to gain some of that power back is not a bad shout for them. So I'm not too mad at that, especially with the, with Australian Survivor. Cutting some people out right before the merge happens is not a bad shout, considering that you're basically playing a whole season of American Survivor from the merge on. So you can find new places to situate yourself. I understand the coziness and the security that comes with being in a majority alliance, but I also recognize the writing on the wall of, it's like a cheese wheel being thrown down a hill. Once it gains momentum, there's no stopping that cheese wheel. So you have to make the decision now. Am I going to figure out a way to stop it before it gains momentum, or am I just on the cheese wheel? And as appealing as it is, I feel like I don't know if I love cheese. I don't think I want to chase a cheese wheel down a hill. I don't think that's what I want to do.
I do love cheese, but I don't think that's I don't think this is about cheese. Don't try and distract me with cheese to like the move, okay? Cheese is separate to what was happening here with Morgan.
But do you think the move was Gouda or bad?
Barada, bad Rada.
Barada, okay.
Okay, don't test me on cheeses. I've got a cheese pun for everything. I hated this move though. I think it was bad Rada because it's 7-7 right now, right? So you can try and assure just like an early majority. The way that like George got the vigilantes together for these like long Australian Survivor merges is good for at least the beginning of the next like month of our lives, voting people out through these really, really long mergers. So just trying to assure the majority. I think that they were scared of a Brains majority, but that's not even where the numbers are at. And again, the Brains are so chaotic that they're not nearly as scary as you are as Braun. And I think as well, a lot of it came down to like, well, Jesse's calling the shots. But the only vote we've seen actually is that Jesse gave up like his friend in Max, and Kate called those shots. We gave her 6 Jizzy points for it. So I'm sure that they are domineering. I'm not saying that's not true, but it's not played out in the vote so far. Like even them wanting Laura now actually felt fair, given that they had given up Max last time. So I think in a perfect world, it'd be nice to have like a Vega side girls thing where it's like, we'll keep each other safe on different sides. You still whittle away to get to your numbers. You try to like keep Laura safe and take out like her Miles now and like make that more of like a side plan for the future to maybe come to fruition later, but that can't happen here because, again, I think it actually is fair for Jesse to get his shot when he lost Max. So I actually I felt like I didn't understand why you would do that now. I would stick cozy now. I mean, sticking with the brawn now doesn't mean that it's just going to be pagonged all the way to the end. Like, it could just mean that you are safe for the very beginning of the merge or for the first bit of the merge, and you just have those assured numbers. Table setting votes before you cut things up has been like a big thing that I've advocated for this season. So I even understood what Jesse was trying to say with the Mega Alliance. I think it's like, in theory, if that group is just looking out for each other, so that if it's going to be Laura or Logan, it's Logan. It's AJ over Miles. It's the other brawns over these brawns. It's just about kind of looking out for each other. The issue is that came with no social basis. To the point where when the girls even came to Laura and Zara, they were like, oh my God, they're coming to talk to us. It was actually really sad. And the way that the guys approached Miles, they literally said, this is a test and we don't want you out now. So the lack of the social bonds is probably more the issue that I have. But I'm on board in general with let's keep each other safe in the future, but I'm not on board with exploding your game and all of the allies you've built through a month to do that new alliance thing.
I don't see it as a game exploding move though. And here's why probably. It's because to me, Survivor at its core is a social game, and someone being like, this is how it's going to go. I'm making a mega alliance with the entirety of the beach is so ridiculous. And you're just like, it's big decreeing energy where you're like, I've decreed it. This is what we're doing now. And no one wants to be in a situation like that where they're like, okay, well, can't fight back with that. You're like, no. I want to push back. And I think this was the opportunity to do so. And here's why. Because if they do get rid of a Jesse, you've got Ben, you've got PD. Who else am I missing from the Brawn grouping? Alliance there.
Well,
am I missing anybody else?
No, because then that was the 5.
Right. So then, okay, perfect. That's exactly what I was hoping for with my math. Okay. So now you've got Morgan and Kate as a 2. You've got PD and Ben there. You then have Zara and Laura there. And also Miles is on this beach. So Morgan and Kate now have all the power. These two, if they're mad that their buddy Jesse's gone, well, where are they going to go? They're going to pick up Miles? Okay. They're going to go pick up Laura? They were going to vote out Laura. That ain't going to work. So Morgan and Kate now are at top of the pyramid. They get to decide which direction they want to go. They can foster relationships heavier. They can even tell PD and Ben, listen, Jesse was doing the most. I didn't trust him. He was trying to make alliance with everybody. And they'd have to just be like, oh, okay, that's fine. And maybe they're going to be on vengeance tour come the merge. But reality is they're still going to want the Brains numbers whittled down when they get to merge. So you can get away with doing this and having your cake and eating it too. Or at least that's how I saw it. Because I reckon Morgan and Kate are definitely better at the social side of things than some of these lads are going to be. So.
Well, don't try and distract me with cake either, okay? It's not about cheese and it's not about cake, but there's definitely a way to get me on board on cheese board. I feel like they would be at the top of this tribe for the one vote where they might not go to tribal council, yes. But again, doing it in the middle episode of week 4 was already bad. And secondly, it's more just about going through to the merge. Like, do I trust that Morgan and Kate, who I have seen very little of, and did give 6 chizzy points to Kate when in an episode where she got no confessionals, actually hadn't heard from her until this episode since episode 1, I think. But are they the ones who are going to be able to outpace everyone in this chaotic season? I don't buy that. But can they whittle a structure where, oh, we have a brawn plurality or majority and these brains are chaotic, we take out a few brains, it's a brawn kind of heavy season, but middle merge, who's getting taken out? The Bens, the Jessies. Then Kate wins that season, Morgan wins that, one of Kate or Morgan wins that season. They do not win this season, they don't win the cut up season, but that season where it's brains kind of go, the big brain threats, and then these big brawn guys, and then they have the power, honestly, yeah, one of them that could definitely win that season.
The other thing is that in the midst of all this, and obviously this tribe does not go to tribal, so they're not as spoken about this episode, but AJ basically decreed war upon these brains on this beach. So as far as Morgan and Kate are thinking, these are free agents for us to stack up on come the merge. And I think that Kate and Morgan having some extra pieces over some of these Brawn boys is a good option to have in case you need a safety net later on in case the brains have the numbers and they're going to be going away. If you have a couple people vouching, hey, not Morgan, not Kate, let's go after Petey, that's good for me. I take that. So I like this move. I do. I don't. And again, this is kind of similar to what happened with the Coven and the Rich of it all a couple weeks ago. It didn't happen. So I can't even say that it was bad or it ruined everything because they kind of have plausible deniability. It's like they thought about the thing, they nearly bought the thing, but they didn't buy the thing. So they have the money, but they also have that desire to buy the thing. So you never know. There's no receipts. There's no purchase made, no transaction.
I love how we come in every week and disagree. I think that it's a good move in 6 episodes. You know, it's a good move once you've merged or even maybe a little bit less. Like, but you merge, you've taken out some brains, you have the power, and then you go to the remaining Girls Gone Wild, and then you cut the Paulies, you cut whatever remaining, the Kaylins, all of them go from like 10 through 6. They win that season, Pooya. This is way too early. There's so much game left to play to take out. And I don't think that they built up enough with Laura and Zara. Look how little Laura trusted. And they did say, oh my God, they're coming to talk to us. They're actually coming to talk to us. So I don't think there was enough there. And I also think that they were investing a lot in Laura being like, you better repay. Well, they didn't say it. I don't think that antagonistic way, but Kate said a lot. We need to be repaid basically in the future. It was about attaching to Laura's power that she could repay. I think they had more power than Laura. I think that being strong with the brawn was more powerful than being strong with the brain, which I don't even know that Laura really is. But I think they're attaching to the fear of what the brains will be able to bring at a merge, even though that's not even numerically where we're at, and certainly not structurally where we're at with how chaotic the brains are. I don't think Laura repays that. Look how quickly she was willing to jump. I don't think that they were investing in something with an equal investment back. So that as well is my issue.
But the market they invested in is absolutely volatile in Laura. And here's why. Because, like I said, they did it. The boys don't know anything necessarily happened. So there's plausible deniability there.
That's another negative, by the way, is how obvious it was to the guys. Just a side point.
Okay, so that's one thing. The other thing is that Laura stayed back. Now Laura is big mad at who? Not Kate, not Morgan. She's mad at Zara. So in a way, there is now a new divide put back into the brain tribe some more. We do see on the next time on, Laura's whispering to Logan, yeah, she screwed me out of that. I found that clue and she got rid. So now Logan is like, oh my God, are Zara and AJ attached at the hip? I don't trust AJ. Now I don't trust Zara. So you know what happens come merge? The brains are even more in turmoil than before.
But that's unforeseeable. That's the best thing that ever happened to them was that the vote they were told that the vote got cancelled. They were saved from themselves from a hugely self-defeating move.
You know what is unforeseeable as well, Shannon? Morgan and Kate not winning the season. We don't know. It could happen.
I think this is a much worse path, whereas I really see it in the other path.
Maybe.
Well, I mean, anyway, it didn't happen now anyway, but I'm just saying that had the vote gone ahead, the one path where they're like, now everything's really cut up and we have to like outpace everyone to like get to the end in this really chaotic game, or the like structure and time and pace that I can see in like some brains go, big brawn guys go, all the big guys go. Morgan or Kate wins. I see it. I really see it. Whoever wins out in that duo wins the season. It's so clear to me how they were ready to go. I think they were bored. I honestly think they were just kind of bored. That's what I think.
But I could also see in the Monolith of Brawn situation, one of Kate or Morgan being the early casualty going to Jury Villa as well. Like I could see that happening as well.
They have the numbers and they have so many shields. Jesse's a great shield. At the 12s, 11s, 10s, they've got.
But sometimes in Survivor, Shannon, people will be like, you know what? We need to weaken that guy.
Yeah.
Let's go after someone lower on the list there. Let's go after Kate. Or no, let's go after Morgan. She's an Olympian. She could win a lot of individual immunities. And then and then caution to the wind is over. So, hey, you never know. This is a game of ups and downs. And were they bored? Potentially. Was this the most optimal move? Who knows? Probably not. But was this also entertaining? Yes. Was it also nice to see Kate and Morgan not just be complacent? Yes. So I liked it quite a bit. I was happy that, because anytime people do or think of stuff like this, I'm like, okay, They're thinking ahead, they're thinking forward, they're thinking of different avenues. The game is still going. Because what I do dislike is when there is a group that's just locked in, they're full complacent, and they are just riding it out, hoping that what they're envisioning happens, which is nothing goes wrong and it's a smooth ride all the way through. The minute you see some volatility in some of your alliance mates, I think it's good to look at some parachutes. I'm not mad at that.
I don't think Jesse was that volatile. And I also think, firstly, I want to clarify that come merge, maybe Kate and certainly Olympian Morgan are definitely bigger jury threats than the guys. But I do think that the alpha guys get taken out around that mid game. I think that there's something to be said about, like, I don't know, careful pacing and structure. But I think this was just way, way, way too early. But they were safe from themselves. So a couple of things on this.
Mhm.
At the point where they go to the fake vote, well, they know that they're not voting someone out of the game. At first, I thought this was complicated of who to send to the other side because I was thinking about it separately for the girls and guys. But then I'm like, well, they never actually flipped, right? It's Schrodinger's flip, and they can always be like, let's pretend this never happened. So it makes a lot more sense, I think, from the brawns. I do think that, yeah, ideally the girls send like a Miles because then you still have the opportunity of what they want, which I disagree with, of the girls' majority in the future. But I still think this is fine. You have Miles there as fodder. You send Laura over to be safe. And you can also just be like, we were always Brawn strong. I think it's fine for everyone to keep Laura as a target and send Zara over, especially as they're volunteering. So it's like not severing social bonds, all the great social bonds they've made with these brains as they've barely spoken to them. But it's not severing the social bonds. It's keeping in a target. What did you think about them eventually sending Zara over when they knew what was happening with the twist?
Well, they couldn't send Laura. I think I understand the not sending Laura because, I mean, again, for the guys, they were going to get rid of Laura, but also on top of that, Laura is locked in with Logan more than they know. Like, they're like, oh, Karen has, Zara has Karen over there. And even the whole, like, yeah, no, Zara and AJ were talking. The one thing you know for sure is that Logan and Laura are in cahoots. So you can't quite trust that. Miles would have been an interesting one. Now, could we argue that the girls kind of made it so that Miles was impossible to go because of the men's paranoia? Maybe. I think also Miles being completely hitched to the AJ wagon for so long helps that agenda quite a bit, where they're like, no, we cannot give AJ more ammunition by giving him Miles. No, that's not going to happen. So was Zara more of the middle road? Yes. I also think of the three, I feel like they fancied the odds of Zara coming back to them. Whereas, yes, she was talking to AJ earlier. Yes, she might have a thing with Karen, but we know Laura and Logan are together. We know Miles' number one has been AJ. So that's a little bit more concrete in their eyes. In the event that you're sending someone with the hopes that you come back with some info, I'm not mad at Zara being that option.
Which is honestly so well done by Zara because we know Zara's going to the graduates. Like, we know Zara has had power, but the storyline has always been Laura and Logan, which has kind of been a PR failure on their behalf. And the fact that both tribes are talking about how dangerous they are as a duo when, like, they just lost the vote right before they came to the swap. So I feel like that's been like the important thing. But it's interesting, Miles doesn't even try because, again, yeah, the guys are never going to let that happen because of what they've seen possibly happening with the girls, because we're saying it would be so good for the girls to have their cake and eat it too by sending Miles. So they're never going to let that happen. And the girls have really like thrown themselves out there. So it becomes between Laura and Zara. And then I think that that's a really good decision. I think that that's fine. But yeah, I mean, the guys responding to this with Miles was so funny to me. Like, I think that giving up the split isn't really important because, like, the brains coming over the top with 3 and an idol seems unlikely, but they have nothing. Again, they're approaching Miles as not even a swing, as a 4 plurality to try pull Morgan over on the revote. We're already switching the split to get to that point, and it's already so dicey. And they literally say to Miles, "This is a test." I'm like, I think you are misreading who has the leverage here.
You know what's funny to me is that there is a world where if these 3 voted together, they could have 3-3-2'd it and maybe then sent one of the others over, because Laura and Zara vote Miles. Miles can't vote himself, right? So Miles throws a vote over to Zara. But if those 3 voted together, because it was what, a 4-2-2, they could have had to be a 3-3-2. That could have been fun.
Was that it? Was it a 4-2-2?
I think so because it was 2-2-2, and then Zara gets a third one, and then it's like person going to Braun, Zara. So I think 4-4-2-2 makes it was
I
because
need to.
Laura,
I assume
Laura
they just
Zara.
piled on Zara.
So Laura Zara voted Miles, right? And
Yeah.
then I'm assuming because we didn't get to see the votes, or at least I didn't see the votes.
Yeah.
Then you have Kate and Morgan who were advocating for Laura. I'm assuming they're the two Laura votes. Then the three men and Miles all voted Zara because it was 4-2-2. So if the three brains put all three votes on like Jesse, what could have happened there? That could have been fun.
Because the
That could have
men
been
and the
exciting.
women were separated. That's interesting. I hadn't even thought about that because I'm like, at this point, they're all just like agreeing on Zara, but that is really interesting. I need to go back and look at the votes, and luckily I'm podcasting again so soon, and I can just clarify that with Mike if we're in any way wrong, because I didn't look at that properly, but that is interesting. They'd never think that they could do that, and again, they're not working together. They wouldn't. Laura doesn't even want to send Jesse, which would again have been the right thing to do, but she could have sent Jesse, and she never told them about the thing. Jesse was about to go, but Laura doesn't want to do that. They're completely at odds, even though sending a Brawn guy would be great for all of them. That's not their intention at that point, and they're completely against each other. So they're definitely not going to work together on what should be the shared goal, and did almost happen, but they didn't do it, and that is the problem.
Because I mean, obviously this was a hypothetical because the Laura and Zara at that point are not voting for each other. They're not voting together. They're trying to get out of town immediately. But it's a fun exercise because in the event that the 3-3-2 is on, let's say 3 for Zara, 3 for Jesse, 2 for Miles, Zara and Jesse cannot vote, right? So now we're down to 6 votes. And
Kate, it's down to Kate and Morgan to then
Kate
make
and
a
Morgan
decision.
decide.
But I don't think that this necessarily.
I still don't think they.
I think they're sending Zara at that point. I think that they're like, look, it'd be nice to give Laura what she wants, and if she's the person we're really trying to attach to send her back to make quote unquote new relationships with her allies on the other side and keep her safe for the future. That's clearly why they were advocating for Laura. But at the point where it's Zara and Jesse, they're turning on an active non-alim, which they're not doing. So they're sending Zara there. Once the 3 guys, PD, Jesse, and Ben are voting on Zara, there aren't enough votes, even with the combined Brains tribe, which are not united at all. But even in that way, I don't see another way in which anyone else goes. But again, if you wanted Jesse to go, he was gonna. You just had to do nothing. You just had to eat the clue. Of all the cake and the cheese in the world, the clue would have been the most delectable item of all. So, I found this just really a lot of interesting stuff there for a non-alim. Once upon a time, Rob was like, I feel sorry for the non-alims, with Pooya's non-alims, about doing all these chizzy points every episode, but we're going to get it done. I actually did struggle a little bit. We're going to get it done. Take it away, Jacob Sega-Weinstein and MC Color.
1, 2, 3. 1, 1, 1, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. It's getting kind of chizzy. 3, 2, 1.
All right. So, do you want to go first?
No, I think you should go first.
Okay. I'm giving 3 to Zara. She gets her way, and she was right to push back, and she was being led by Laura, who I think was self-defeating for both of them. And at that point, if she or Laura are going, it's about winning that war, and she does. And the fact that Laura's a target over her because Laura's relationships are more evident, even if I don't think they're necessarily truly more dangerous than Zara's, is why Laura's kept around as possible fodder by at least the guys. And Zara makes good on that and gets her way. So Zara's getting 3 points for me. I'm giving 2 points to Miles. Miles, who goes to like something of a little bit of a quasi-swing vote here from the very, very bottom, wants to work with the Brains, as many issues as they've had. I mean, he's choosing between 2 groups who have been not amazing to him, but I thought, it was fine for him to go that way that he was going to. I think that he handled tribal council well without trying to pile on in terms of wanting to go as well and kind of knowing where he sat with that. And I think it's just like the increased power for me that I'm really on board with. And then one point I struggled with, I'm like, grasping at straws. Yeah, I disagreed with what most people did, and then there wasn't a vote. But I'm giving a point to Paulie, whose stock is rising on the other side. Karen says some positive things about him while AJ's stock is falling. I mean, AJ, it's been a 2-week saga from him going from we have to make the other tribe throw the challenge because I don't want to go to tribal council lest I lose all my allies because I'm so powerful, to I now have to throw because I don't want to lose people on the other side, to now I have to win because if not, I will probably go home. His stock is sunk so low. And I feel like he had like a side of the camera before the opening credits that just told such a story. It was like record scratch, freeze frame. You're probably wondering how I wound up here. He's, refuting information that's impossible to refute because it's true about Logan. And I feel like at this point, he's just trying to appeal to Karen as a friend. He's like, I'm actively embarrassed, compared to Paulie, who people are like, maybe I want to work with him. So in that comparison of the two people who are seemingly on the bottom of this tribe, if they go to tribal council, one of them is probably not going to make it. It seems like Paulie might. So I'm giving a point to Paulie for, it's about you just have to outrun the guy next to you. I think Paulie's doing that, and AJ's doing it a lot to himself. It's like you have to outrun the guy next to you, but the guy next to you is just standing there and has doused himself in like bear. What do bears like to eat? Human, I guess.
Honey.
But anyway, yeah. What?
Honey, like
Honey,
Winnie the Pooh.
is that what bears? But not the bear I'm thinking of.
What bear are you thinking of?
A more vicious bear than Winnie the Pooh.
Like cocaine bear?
Yeah, I guess. Like, I'm not imagining Winnie the Pooh chasing them, and they're like, we're outrunning Winnie the Pooh, and it's like AJ's like dousing himself in honey, and Paulie's like running. But if that's what you're imagining, that is what Paulie's doing, and for that he gets a point, and a lot of that is negative points to AJ, but Paulie's doing that. So those were my points. I struggled a little bit. Yeah.
I have two thoughts immediately. Number one, I've spent an hour trying to think, how can I give Logan 3 points? I can't. I'm not going to. Spoiler alert. But point number two is, Shannon, maybe this is an off-season project. I fancy the idea of a 3-2-1-1, where someone just gets a point removed because sometimes they deserve the removal. But I feel like good branding could be there, and mechanics. You can think about that in the off season.
We have had that suggested. My concern is like the Chizzy's usually so positive, right? Like this person did something you might not think about to get one Chizzy point. Now it's like, wow, slim pickings with this cast and what they're doing, and it's not meant to be like that. I feel like we've had before kind of negative things, and it's not really where I want to go with it. But yes, the results get skewed because people make big good moves, but then there might be big plays who also do big terrible things, and then it doesn't reflect in the points. I think about this a lot, but I don't have a solution for it at this time.
I think it could be like you have three, like you as the main host who's there every day to dish them out, you get like 3 a season, and like anyone else gets 1 a season. That could be like the move where it's like break in case of like absolute dastardly emergency. This is a disaster. They need a point removed because they are really bricking it. Maybe.
But we have used up all our points in like week 1.
Yeah. So I have been advocating for the opposite side of what you've been saying this whole episode. So I feel like it only makes sense for me to go ahead and bring a brand new person into the Chizzy conversation by giving them 3 points.
Wow. It can only be one person. Only one person doesn't have points so far.
Morgan!
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, on the board. Here's the thing. Like I said, was the move good? Was it too early? All of these, it could absolutely be true. It could also still come back to bite Morgan, but I like seeing flashes of forward thinking when it's someone who has been relatively purple, ashamedly so, and also, I don't know a lot about. So to see her play that forward game, try and plant some seeds for the future, I like that kind of move. I agree with what you said about the fact that it looked like a lot of this leaned on the supposed aura that Laura and Logan have as a duo. And it's like, please take us to your people and like, let us be a part of them. I understand all of that, but I also think that it's just nice to have options going in, especially if a lot of your bronze are going to come in and be like, we're closed off. We're not talking to other people. You want to have avenues. So I like that. You seeing that level of potential in somebody I'm into. There's a reason why I gave it to her and not to Kate. I feel like Kate is going to end up seeming a little more suspicious amongst the two, is the way the show kind of put it for me. So I think Morgan can have some more hiding power, which I do like. I do fancy those odds some more. Now I guess I know what you're thinking. Is Kate going to get your 2 points? Is that where you're leaning? It was back and forth. It was a back and forth because it's almost criminal to give one of them 3 and then one of them nothing. So I feel like I'm not going to do that. Kate gets my 1 point this week. Simply because I do think that Kate might have been the when Kate got taken away for that conversation, that's when they were like, that was weird. So I feel like Kate is somebody who could get in trouble for this, but I still don't think that's the case. I think that, again, similar to what I said about Morgan, I like the forward thinking. I like the ambition to look at other avenues and do other stuff. I think these are only good things that could happen. Was it put in the wrong place? Yet to be seen. But at the end of the day, Laura's still there. Doesn't have much choice. She could throw them under the bus. She could just try and work with them. They could bring in Miles. And my God, Miles on the bottom, confessing his little heart out, telling everyone everything they needed to hear, all the tea he had. He spilled it red all over everyone's faces. But in this episode, where was Miles? Not on any parchment, not a part of conversation for voting
on
out.
parchment, but in a good way.
Yeah. And being looked at as somebody that people could take in as a number. I love this for him. I think this is only good things for him coming forward. Now, does this twist kind of do him in a little bit? Yes, he could be a casualty should they go back to tribal. But then also, could the Monolith boys be like, no, Miles. What we were saying was legitimate. Ride with us again. Then he's in a good spot because automatically that's good. And then if Kate, Morgan, Laura, like, actually, Miles, would you like to be part of the Girls Gone Wild Alliance and work with us to take rid of one of these guys? And there we go. Miles right in the middle again. So I like that for him. I think that's good. And I'm going to give him the 2. So Morgan 3, Miles 2, Kate 1. I can see the argument you made for Zara. I just have a feeling that Zara was under the radar enough and was in a good spot. And as much as I did love the, hey, you ain't going anywhere, I'm taking that ticket from you and going, I have a feeling this is going to put her in the spotlight in not a great way. And I don't love that for her come emerge.
Yeah, I just don't blame her. I think that Laura put her in a tough spot and she just responded. Like at the point where Laura wants to go, like you can't let it be Laura over you, then you're the presumptive next boot. Like it's worth severing those relationships, which I think Laura is severing, and also putting a spotlight on yourself to get out of that really, really bad spot that she's been put into by Laura, and then she wins the war. So I think that's good. I think that Miles, if the Brawn go back together and are like, we were never turning, then Miles is in trouble as always. But he could be a swing, and it's about him and Laura really trying to make use of the verifiable information that they had, that both sides were really side-eyeing each other at best, or actively turning. So look, I think that there is a lot there, but I love disagreeing with you. Now I am going to go have cheese and cake and tea that you were just subliminally putting into my head. That's my perfect meal.
It worked.
But I still don't like the move, but I love cheesecake and tea. So and cheesecake as well. I do love. Yeah.
We need a weekly segment called the DeLorean where we go back a week and look at what we talked about, because remember how high you were on AJ, Shannon? How has that been going?
I don't even remember what happened. I clarified last week that I've talked about eating my words and my cake and my cheese. I'm like, AJ, I can't defend you anymore. You're embarrassing me. You're embarrassed? You've embarrassed me. I tried, okay? I thought he was investing in Paulie and Noonan, and then he surprised me.
He didn't even know where he was going. They're prisoners. Nah, they're not prisoners. They're prisoners. It's a lot.
It was a lot, Pooya. Was that what we spoke about a week ago? I don't even remember a week ago. There's so much fire all the time. Oh my, it's like, it's crazy.
Yeah, and I just lost the trader, so I've got nothing but AU Survivor on the mind now. This is it. This is all I got.
Me too, but it's so much.
Well, you have it way more than I do, and I couldn't handle it. That's a lot. Because at least I get to watch 66% of the episodes knowing full well I don't need notes for these. I'm just going to watch it. I'm not deep diving it. But you, different gravy. You got to deep dive it 3 episodes and then all together for the feedback. So bless your heart.
Thank you so much. And I'm glad that you reminded me what we disagreed about last week, because I didn't remember. In a week, remind me what we disagreed about this week, and then I need you to help me out on that. But this was so much fun. You were like, I don't think there'll be as much to talk about. It was a non-elim. Look, Rob, we got a lot out of it, and it's great because I love the back and forth. We give both sides, and then everyone can choose one, which I love. So thank you so much, Pooya. I had a great time fighting with you today.
Was this fighting? I wouldn't say this was fighting.
No, it was a debate.
It was more
It
of
was
a
a
debate,
well-reasoned debate.
Yeah, without giving anything away about US Survivor, there was talking of milking it there. I think we milked it real good here.
I think we did well.
We squeezed all the juice out of this episode.
Yeah, and I
The
do
juice.
enjoy it because I was talking about this with my brother about how like often the moves are like it's on the margins. It's like something like with Max that were like I was like he's it's he did well, he did badly. It's like he's also in a very bad position. Like is he slightly improving or like not improving that position? But this with Morgan and Kate was actually a really great argument because I think it could be the difference between like really actively really good and actively really bad on either side. So that's what makes it fun when the stakes are high. Even though it didn't go to a vote, the intention was interesting. Great time. Pooya, tell people where to find you. No more traders. So upsetting. I need to catch up even though I'm so spoiled, but I won't say what happened, but I'm like 2 episodes behind.
Please do, because it's my favorite season of US Traders we've had yet. You can catch all of that over on the We Know Traders feed. You can find me on all socials at Pooya and find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Pooya. That's where I am when I am not podcasting. Check out me and Liana talking over on the Pooya and Liana Lounge. We have a lot of fun there. Our 10th episode, we're doing the hot ones thing. So spicy questions equals spicy wings. Should be a fun formula. Find that and check that out. Real quick, Shannon, does your brother listens to the coverage? Yes?
Yes.
Of course. So ask him to rank the 3 co-hosts you've had for this season. and then I will ask you what the answer was. Or actually, please put it on social. Let us see it there. Okay?
No,
listen,
right. That's arbitrary and reductive. You all have your skills. You're like the 3 Powerpuff Girls, which I'm now going to. Well, we said we're the 3 angels, and then what do you think that Chappelle's Buttercup and like your Blossom, and that like Micah's Bubbles?
I think Micah's Blossom. I'm Bubbles, low key. But
really, I think Micah's Bubbles. We're gonna disagree now. Now this will be a fight. No, I will. Okay, Don't tell us who your favorite co-hosts are because they're all.
Tell us because if I'm third, I can live with it. I just want to know. I'm curious.
They're 10 out of 10. So they can't be ranked, but definitely tell us which of the Powerpuff Girls you think they are. Micah's Bubbles.
I don't see it for him. He's more of a Blossom to me.
What? No, I don't think
leader.
So.
Yeah.
It doesn't scan very well. The 3 of you to the 3 Powerpuff Girls.
What do you mean by that?
Like it doesn't translate so well. It's not it doesn't work really.
To the 3 co-hosts or generally?
The 3 co-hosts to the 3 Powerpuff Girls, there's not a lot of like similarities there that make it like a great, now we're over an hour and now we're doing this.
The chat is going to let us know. If you've listened this far, put it in the comments. I want to see who's the Bubbles, who's the Blossom, who's the Buttercup. And does that make you, what was his name? Professor?
Yes,
yeah, you Professor
much.
X then? Okay.
Yeah, 100%. Right. I love it. This is great. And I'm Charlie. That's my recap, bitches. That's the best. Thank you so much, Pooya. At Shannon Gates, WeKnowGlobalSurvivor.com. All the recaps as stated. Feedback show with Caroline this week. There'll be an next interview. We're covering Survivor 48. Had a recap with Tessa this week about episode 2. WeKnowGlobalSurvivor.com. At Shannon Gates is where you'll find it all. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you, Pooya. Thanks to our team behind the scenes. And I will see you tomorrow. Bye.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.